Concerns over artificial intelligence also a central theme of a sweeping manifesto by Pope Leo. In his first encyclical called Magnifica Humanitas, or Magnificent Humanity, the head of the Catholic Church called for stiffer regulation and urged developers to work for the common good rather than for profit. Pope Leo also denounced the, quote, culture of power that's driving the AI race, especially in developing more sophisticated methods of remote warfare. He was joined by Anthropic, one of the world's top AI firms, at the presentation, as part of the Vatican's decades-long effort to engage Silicon Valley.
There is a real possibility that AI will displace human labor at a very large scale. If that happens, supporting those displaced will be a moral imperative of historic proportions. AI development is concentrated in a handful of wealthy nations. How will we ensure that the gains of AI are shared globally? We do not have a mechanism for this. It is an unsolved problem. And it is the kind of problem the Church has historically refused to let the world ignore.
William Denselow has been tracking the speech for CNA, joins us live now from Brussels. Now, William, what else did the Pontiff raise in this manifesto? Do you have more details?
Well, Angela, Pope Leo's been in the post in the Vatican for just a year, but this is something that the Holy See at large has been working on for roughly a decade or so. Now, in this announcement, the Vatican says that it is not enough to invoke the principles of ethics in the abstract. That is why Pope Leo is calling for more tangible regulations around AI. They also stress the concerns when it comes to the concentration of power, the culture of power, as the Vatican puts it. They say that moral AI is not enough if morality is in the hands of the few. So we've seen that with the concentration of AI in some of those big growing giants in this field around the world. So real concerns there about the monopolization of this technology. You mentioned the military applications as well. This has been a long-held concern for Pope Leo. In the past, he said that it could create a downward spiral. In this announcement, the Vatican says it is not permissible to entrust lethal decisions in the hands of artificial intelligence.
Right. So how will this statement then affect the EU's own push to regulate the tech through its own AI Act?
Well, actually, the EU has long tried to champion itself as the frontrunners when it comes to AI regulation. We saw the AI Act passed in 2024, really trying to hold the global standard to how AI can be implemented, but implemented safely for citizens around Europe as well. However, there has been some pushback, concerns that red tape could get in the way of progress in this rapidly evolving sector. That is why, just in recent weeks, European institutions have moved to try and break through some of those red lines. But there are concerns that could come to the detriment of some of these guardrails that the likes of the Vatican are proposing. We've seen that play out by the fact that the EU is proposing to delay the implementation of its guidelines for its most sensitive issues in AI, things like using AI to check resumes, for example. That decision to implement this technology is moved from this summer to December 2027. So we're already seeing these debates playing out here in Europe too.
And given all these concerns, how will big tech companies themselves likely respond to the Pope's manifesto?
Well, significantly, as you mentioned, Angela, we've heard from Anthropic saying that they believe that these kinds of checks, these kind of guardrails are fundamental to the development of AI going well as they see it. But of course, we know that Anthropic has long been at loggerheads with the Trump administration for not providing more access to their technology going forward. And certainly Anthropic has seen somewhat of an outlier from the wider consensus in Silicon Valley, and certainly a consensus held by much of the Trump administration that it's imperative for this tech to develop to stay true to that old Silicon Valley adage of moving quickly and breaking things while they do so. So this is the potential for yet another battleground between Pope Leo and the Trump administration. So very interesting to see whether we see this battleground playing out both with Silicon Valley executives and those executives from some of these AI giants, as well as from those in power in Washington too.
William, thank you so much for that update. That was William Denselow for CNA live from Brussels.